Hi, I'm Dr. Tim Meggs. 22 years ago, I started the Concerned Parents of Young Athletes program, and I welcome you now to our CPOYA podcast. We started this program 22 years ago because I recognized the significant void in the care of middle and high school athletes. And as their schedules grew, as their demands on their young bodies grew, and the sports medicine side of it did not grow with that, I found that there was a significant need. And from that time, we have evolved this program to become the finest prevention program in the country for this age group. Now, let's start with why is it different? Why was it needed? What is standard nationally is the pre-participation examination, which starts with a questionnaire and then it evolves into an actual examination or a screening, a medical screening. And the questionnaire starts with each system of the body asking several questions. When you look at the musculoskeletal system as the system in the young athlete that is under the greatest demands at all times, they're asked two very extreme questions on the questionnaire to give clues as to who might have problems. Whether you answer yes or no to these questions does nothing with regard to the examiner being able to recommend anything to protect that young athlete in the future. Once you do the questionnaire, then there is an examination. And again, it's a medical screening of the different systems in the body. And you can only imagine with the literally thousands of young students that have to get examined each season, the likelihood of a thorough examination is very slim. And that's why we're encouraging all parents and coaches to think in terms of their young athletes getting a biomechanical exam, which I'll mention in 1 second. On this screening, they talk about musculoskeletal, and they list each area of the body. And essentially, is it normal or abnormal? There are no tests that they can do at this screening to know if there are underlying issues. So they would have to ask the young athlete or just try to look at the young athlete externally to draw conclusions, and it can't be done. It shouldn't even be considered, because if you're going to do it haphazardly, you're ignoring this system and it can't be done. So we're going to be proposing a whole new system of how we look at our young athletes, and we're going to start with this diagram. This is every young athlete. In 22 years, I have done over 3,000 full biomechanical examinations, and we have established very specific tests that are done on each young athlete, and the goal is to have them done at the start of each year. Now, we've taken it a step further. We've named this graphic Actuary Alex, and here's the origin of the name. Alex represents male and female. Women's sports have exploded in the last decade, and that's just fantastic. But we have to do a better job of preventing, diagnosing, and treating the biomechanics that are underlying all of these injuries. Now, let's look at actuary. What does that mean? Actuaries quantify what most people never see, the hidden lifetime costs of physical breakdown. By projecting the financial burden of injuries, medications, surgeries, disability, lost productivity, and diminished quality of life, actuaries make clear that musculoskeletal faults and imbalances are not just medical problems, they are long-term economic liabilities. So, 15-year-old male runner comes in with a left knee injury, and here is one of the tests that we do on our examination, and you can see that those ranges of motion in the hip are different, and that's because of biomechanical imbalances. The muscles do not perform the same. One becomes more restricted than the other. When we look at this young man on an x-ray in the upper left-hand corner, we can see he's 15 years old, but we can see the height of his hips are different by 14.7 millimeters. I call this measurement the most important measurement in the human body, because if that is unlevel, there are so many effects from that affect the entire body. So this becomes a key indicator. 3 millimeters and below is normal. So we know that we have to do something. So the first step in normalizing biomechanics and balancing the loading is orthotics. Now, there are many orthotics out there. I'm going to make a strong recommendation. Do not get custom orthotics. It's money spent where it should not be spent. Get quality over-the-counter orthotics as a start. And now, why would you need orthotics? The feet are the foundation of the body. If you go on my website, drtimmeggs.com, you will see there are 8 peer-reviewed research studies published in medical journals. Number 5, we did examinations of 1,001 patients, and 100% of them had varying degrees of collapse of the feet. And that 1,001 patients consisted of middle and high school athletes. So we are going to just assume that's where it starts. We know feet continue collapsing as time goes on. We want to be ahead of the curve and preventative. So therefore, we've got to start at the feet to put support and create symmetry of the feet so that now we can look above and make changes and recommendations that we will get from the examinations that we do. With this young man, we now once we've balanced his hips and corrected his feet, we now have to heal the injury. So we're going to start with laser therapy, which is very healing. This young man ultimately went for an MRI, and he is not in need of surgery, but it just told us that the injury is going to take a little longer to heal. So that's how to manage this. But you cannot ignore the imbalances, or the injuries are just going to continue to come back. And those biomechanical tests are not done in our standard testing today in the pre-participation examination. So we're educating families, we're educating coaches as to what testing needs to be done, and then how do we get those tests and make them available to everyone out there. And that's something that we are working feverishly on doing, because there are 2 levels of testing. The first is the Dr. Meggs leg length test. That's simple. Get orthotics, put them in the shoes, and get 1 x-ray, that front to back x-ray with the orthotics on. Measure the hips. If they're greater than 3 millimeters, put a lift under the low hip orthotic. The second test that we recommend is the structural fingerprint exam, which is a comprehensive biomechanical exam, which I believe every young athlete should go through. And that's the exam we've done over 3,000 in the last 22 years. And the one closing thought I want to tell you, every middle and high school student athlete has biomechanical imbalances. 100% of them. Everyone is 100% unique. And if you don't do the proper tests, you will never know. And you will only learn about these imbalances as that young athlete becomes older and starts to break down, as every traditional American does. So look into it. If you happen to know any family or any young athletes, please get this podcast to them, and look forward to you on the next podcast.